Yo, what's up guys, Boss here, and I'm back from the YouTube video, and look at this, #1 in the world again. So I made a video, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago, depending on when you watched it. I got to #1 and had 7,945 trophies, but now I'm at 8,102 trophies, and I want to show you guys the games that brought me here. And honestly guys, I'm really excited, but at the same time, I'm very stressed and nervous as well, because it would honestly mean the world to me if I ended up getting a #1 finish. It would just make me so happy. Even just a top 3 would be incredible. A lot of people don't know this, but well, a lot of you guys might know my best finish is actually 5th and 6th in the world. But I think what a lot of you guys don't know is about 6 months ago, I was 1 game away from getting a #2 in the world finish. And ever since then, I've kind of been pretty upset about that I didn't win that last game, which would have gotten me 2nd place. So I feel like I have a really good shot this season. I'm still using this RG deck. Before we get into the games, if you guys want to support me, you can use my creator code BOSS. You can use it in any Supercell game. Helps support me, helps support the channel, and I really appreciate all you guys who do use my code. It means a lot. So let's get into the first game here versus this bridge spam deck, which in my opinion, interestingly enough, even though bridge spam, I felt like P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam has been struggling a lot, the last couple seasons, this particular bridge spam deck has becoming more and more popular for some reason. I think it's because the cannon cart is honestly pretty strong. It's been being used more and more recently, and I think the ghost synergizes very well with bridge spam. So we've been seeing these kind of different bridge spam decks than P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam. So he's going to get a lot of damage there on the tower because the Ewas ran away. That was honestly really unfortunate. Bridge spam does do a good job of getting a good chunk of damage early on. I wouldn't freak out about if a bridge spam player gets a lot of damage early on against you, just because in this matchup in double and triple elixir, you have a really, really easy time, and they have such a difficult time defending your RG pushes. So in this, you want to play passively. You shouldn't play any RGs in single elixir unless you were up so much elixir and you had support cards down, but otherwise you don't want to, because they would just go for a cannon card on defense, maybe a ghost, and then follow it up with a battle ram behind it, and it would be really difficult for you to defend. So we're going to slow it down here because in double elixir, there's more stuff going on. And you can see we're only down by about 600 damage right now. Nothing too bad. The fisherman comes in clutch, pulling that cannon card, and the hunter's going to end up cleaning everything up. And this is, I know, where we can go for an RG, because look at all the support cards I had behind, and we were roughly at the same amount of elixir before I went in for that Royal Giant. So I knew we would be perfectly fine, even if he had a little bit of a counter push afterwards. But we end up winning the battle at the bridge, and that just means we have practically already won. I mean, if you're winning the bridge battle against bridge spam, bridge spam, it's literally in the name. It's really good at winning bridge battles. So if you manage to do that, that means you've put them in a really awkward situation. And I knew at this point I just had to play defense and wait for my next opportunity to build just 1 or 2 more RG pushes, and we would have been fine. So really nice heal spirit on his end, which you're about to see. He healed up that magic archer back to full health, keeping it alive. And then I go for a ghost as well as an Ewas here, just because I wasn't confident enough that the ghost was going to end up taking everything out on its own. So we're just going to, again, play this passively, hunter in the back, and then I believe I go fisherman here. And then I think it was maybe right here when I go for my next RG push. I can't remember. No, I still play patiently. Like I said, you want to be really passive in this matchup. I don't go for RGs until, as I said, I have a lot of support cards down, or until, I'm up a lot of elixir. But that magic archer was kind of a waste of elixir in my opinion, so I knew at this point we could go for an RG. And then I also follow up here with a hunter as well. The hunter honestly just wrecks everything he plays. A lot of people even said the hunter needed a nerf. If you guys saw the balance changes, fisherman ended up getting a small nerf. I still think it's going to be a good card because it still has a lot of health, even though it has 10 less health. I call it a good game. He's laughing, obviously a little bit upset, but he shouldn't have been that upset because, he only lost 19 trophies because he was much lower than I was. So for our next match, we have a game versus Unreachable here. Let me see where he's at right now. He's still he actually joined my clan. He after I played against him, he like requested to join, so I accepted him. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this one, Loon Cycle here, which in my opinion is a pretty good matchup because if you play RGs in the back versus most bomb tower decks, you have a really easy time breaking through. And what you guys are going to notice in this game, something very interesting happened. He was at so much of an elixir deficit early on because of, well, because I was playing things correctly, like cycling things well. And also because of this balloon, I got a 4 for 5 trade off of, and then he still defended the hunter a little bit. He went for a musketeer in that lane. So notice what I do here. I cycle Heal Spirit, I go for a Barbarian. On this miner, like, look at this elixir lead I have. Look at this. This is probably why he lost as quickly as he did. The game might have gone on longer had this not happened. But look at this. He's at 3 elixir, I'm at 9. A 6 elixir lead. How does that even happen? It was because he went in for a miner, and I countered his musketeer for 2 elixir. So we just got some really nice trades, and, you know, we're going to take advantage of that. I'd like going for ghosts in the opposite lane if they cycle a tank in the left lane because, or, well, whatever lane they play it in, because it's their best counter to the ghost, and he's put in an awkward situation where he needs to spend, like, extra elixir to take it out, direct part of his focus to it, and it's going to end up taking out the bomb tower here. So even though it didn't get to the tower, it got a little bit of value, and it forced, like, his attention out of him. But that's why, guys, RG in the back is an incredible play. I go for an RG at the bridge after my previous RG died because I knew he didn't have a bomb tower in rotation. He was forced to go for a bunch of support cards, which was a really awkward defense for him, and he's already going to lose 1,500 damage on his tower. So an incredible start to this game. We're going to go to 1 speed now, just because things are happening much quicker. I'm going to keep cycling. I know I'm up elixir, so I'm just cycling my Ewas in the back. If he goes for a balloon, I'd still have a hunter, so we would be perfectly fine. And then I fireball the musketeer. I always like fireballing it as far forward as I possibly can. He's gonna, I think, go for an ice golem here, and then I go RG in the back, and then this is where he pressures with a balloon. And look at this Heal Spirit, was really nicely played on my end. I played it off to the side because I had a feeling he would possibly go for a Barbarian directly on the hunter, so I didn't want it to be hit. And I clean up this balloon without it getting a single connection. So he spent all that elixir to not get a single balloon drop, so he had to at that point have been pretty like disappointed with how this match was going, and things were just getting like really difficult for him to keep up because he couldn't get a balloon to the tower, and his defense was like slowly slipping. And I go for RG because once again, bomb tower not in rotation, so this RG surprisingly he defends well. It only gets 1 connection, but we're just forcing him to cycle cards that he doesn't want to, and he's never having an opportunity to get on offense. So at this point, as long as we don't, like, make a huge misplay or something, there's no way we would lose this. So I fireball the musketeer again, and I think at this point I'll speed it up because I pretty much just keep doing the same thing and defending his balloons with hunters. You guys will see eventually he just gets overwhelmed. RG gets an additional shot there, and I think I just get 1 more RG shot, and then I cycle a fireball to end the game. So RG, I believe, gets 1 connection here. Yes, so then I just have to cycle back to 1 more fireball, and that is GG there. So as I said, I think it's a pretty easy matchup. It's not really too difficult because even though they have a fast cycle, it's very difficult for them to go on offense and also at the same time defend your RGs. We're going to get into Balloon here, which I feel like is, Lava Loon, which I feel like is not a bad matchup either. Lava Loon has surprisingly been pretty popular in this meta. There's like, I think 10 people maybe in the top 100 or 150 using it. Usually, it's always the same Lava players every season, but they seem to be having success with it despite all of the hunters in this meta. So a really nicely timed fireball here. Look at this. I wait till the last possible second to fireball, ensuring that we hit the balloon as well as the lava Hound. Really nice Heal Spirit. And then I think he gives up here very, very shortly, as he knows it's a really bad matchup. I just wanted to show this game to show you kind of like how easy it is to beat lava. So I go for a hunter in the back, and he goes lava here, and then I go RG, he goes barbarians, and I barbarian ready for the barbarians, so I play that, I was having it ready to play it, but this is where he gave up anyway. Yeah, sorry, the commentary wasn't the best this game. I mostly just wanted to show this game just to show you how easy the matchup is. Like, he arrows my king tower right here, I think. It was right after I defend this lava push, he just, I think, immediately arrows my king tower because he knows it's over at this point. Like, I mean, I don't blame him because look at how strong the hunter is. So yeah, balloon gets taken out. He arrows my king tower. He's obviously really frustrated because it's just a really good matchup for us. Oh, and by the way, I didn't actually lose this game. You might be wondering, what am I talking about? Because I lost 42 trophies. Imagine how strong my mental strength had to be after this to not get upset. Apparently, the cancel button didn't work. I thought I canceled the game, but then when I went back on Clash Royale, I went on my battle log and saw I lost a game, and I'm like, what? Look at this, look at this. I didn't play a single card. This is proof, like, I didn't lose this game. I was not paying attention. I thought I canceled, but I didn't. Look at this. How unlucky is that? You know, 42 trophies because of that. In a match I probably could have won in a roughly even matchup. But now, guys, this is a good one. Pompeo, 57th in the world right now. You guys probably know Pompeo. He's finished #1 in the world 4 times using, I think, every single time this balloon cycle deck. It's called the Pompeo deck because he is the best with this deck. This matchup is roughly even in my opinion because unlike the Loon cycle deck with Bomb Tower, Goblin Cage is pretty solid against the RG. He's also got Fireball and Zap to take out a Hunter or an Ewiz if he wants to. So I'm going to go for a Ghost Heal Spirit here. And in this matchup, I like playing passively. I don't go for RGs that often, especially not in single, because the Inferno Drag completely melts it. So I Fireball the balloon. I just let the Hunter die. And I'm, again, as I said, playing this really passively because I know that if I'm too aggressive and go for an RG, he'll just take it out for 4 Elixir, have the Inferno Drag still on the map that I have to deal with, and along with that, he might pressure with a balloon push in the opposite lane as well. So just cycling my support cards, I'm okay. I'm comfortable cycling an air counter as long as I still have my Ewiz in rotation, because you're going to see I defend this balloon perfectly fine. I don't even need to go for a fireball on it. I have enough damage coming in from the Ewiz to take it out. We're going to slow it down here. This game actually got really intense towards the end. I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it was really close at the end. So I was definitely really happy to win it. I go for an Ewiz here on his Inferno Drag. Even though he's got Fireball Zap, it forces 6 Elixir out of him, so it's not a bad trade at all. It ensures that he can't go for a balloon push, because after he's spending that 6 Elixir on a 4 Elixir card, it's pretty hard for him to build up a good balloon push, and balloon at the, at the bridge itself is not going to be very effective for him, because I could just Fireball it, I could go for an Ewiz, or go for a Hunter and get a positive trade. He wants to be supporting it with Miners, Ice Golems, and maybe even an Inferno Drag. So I want to, at the best I can, prevent him from building up those big balloon pushes that are quite difficult for me to stop. So I go for a Ghost and an RG here because I thought that Fireball was pretty aggressive coming out for him. And I know that I have the Fireball to reset the Inferno Drag. I was hoping, we got a little unlucky here. I was actually hoping by the time I Fireballed the Inferno Drag that the Fireball ended up hitting the Brawler, because that would have helped take it out, and we might have even gotten some more damage with, our RG. If it got pushed back, it could have gotten an additional shot, but it ended up being okay anyways. We got a huge chunk of damage and put him in a pretty awkward cycle. You can see he goes for a defensive Miner on top of our Barbara, which is obviously not something he wanted to do because it's a negative trade. Look at this. This was interesting. I applied pressure, and at the same time, he applies pressure in the opposite lane. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to go for an Ewiz on the Inferno Drag because I had to devote all my attention to defense. Because if that balloon got a connection, I lost. And just barely, I got that Fireball off in time, propelling the balloon back. And we were losing as of right now. And at this point in the game, I did not want to lose. He was so much lower than me. If I lost this game, I would have, I believe, lost to like 43 trophies, because when I won this I only got 16. So I was like praying that we could like come back and find a way to break through, and RG in the back was the answer to that, because as I said, against buildings, even the Goblin Cage, I like playing RGs in the back. And now is the time, finally the time to be aggressive, because we've been passive the whole game, but we need to get damage now. And I think with us having a slightly more expensive deck, it's a little easier for us to get damage and triple. And 2 RGs are down, like, look at that. That's absolutely crazy. One of them is able to sneak through at full health, and that was just so broken. Like, I mean, I had 2 RGs basically at full health, and that was what I needed to take his tower. Cycling RG in the back, getting another down. These were just friendly battles. This game was absolutely insane. I think of all the games I'm showing you guys today, this is by far the most intense game that you're going to see. We're versus ILYQQ. I don't know what that stands for. Maybe it stands for I love you. I don't know QQ. I'm not sure, but anyway, when I see the Fisherman, I wasn't entirely sure what deck he was using. Fisherman, of course, being popular in lots of decks in the meta. I mean, I was thinking could possibly be RG, but at the same time, I didn't know. He's going to set up a candy card in the back. At this point, I was thinking, like, maybe it's a bridge spam deck of some sort. I had no idea he had recruits and Flying Machine. I've seen Bar Putt recruits, but... Okay, so I go for an RG here. Why? Because he had his Fisherman out of rotation, and to be honest with you guys, I thought he had Bar Putt, and if he had Bar Putt, this would have been good, because after playing the Bar Putt, you would have had no Elixir. All the support cards would have helped kill the Barbarians and the Flying Machine, and we probably would have even gotten a little bit of damage on the tower. But he had recruits that he played instead, and this was actually a really solid play on his part because he cleans everything up. Like, that was actually crazy how much value he got from those recruits, and he gets so much damage on my tower. If I'm being honest, this matchup is not that great, but I felt like I just played very, very well, and he might have made a couple, like, small errors, or I just maybe played perfectly and, you know, just did everything correctly. I'm not really sure, though, because most times, if you play recruits, it's pretty hard. We're going to slow it down here. The beginning wasn't very intense, but I tried to do something here. It didn't end up paying off, obviously getting the King Tower activated, but what I try to do is be very passive. I wanted to take damage and try to take his tower with this push, but I kind of underestimated the ability of the Royal recruits, and the Fisherman walks in the wrong lane, not supporting the RG push, which was also unfortunate as well. And all that to only get one RG shot, and he's got a ton of damage in the left lane. And guys, this is where it gets just absolutely, like, bananas, like you guys are about to see. Coming up, it's so close, and I don't even know how I won. So I go for an RG at the bridge because he didn't have a Fisherman in rotation, and I knew he didn't have enough Elixir to play recruits right away. That was the main reason why I played it. And that time the RG got enough damage. In fact, it almost got one more hit, which would have allowed me to Fireball to finish off the game. But unfortunately, it died right before it was able to get that additional shot. So I'm still playing this game, and I can't cycle like 2 Fireballs in this situation. I mean, if you look at the situation we're in, there's no way we're cycling 2 Fireballs. And look at how close this got. I'm putting it on halftime speed. That Flying Machine and Cannon Cart was right on our tower, and I go for an Ewiz to reset it just in time. So left tower's at 623, right tower's at 180, and I'm here wondering, how am I going to get an RG to the tower and defend all this spam at the same time? I get lucky here too. I thought the bullets of the Hunter were going to hit the tower, but they ended up going to the left and right of the tower, which helped me as well. He's getting really desperate for damage with Flying Machine that's at the bridge. I almost wonder if he could have cycled 2 arrows. I think if he cycled 2 arrows, he might have won this game. I don't know why he played this really passively. I go for a Ghost here. He goes for Royal Hogs. I have to Fireball 2 Royal Hogs because I knew that if one of them connected, I would have been screwed. So I Fireball both of them. I'm willing to take a little bit of damage in the left lane. And look at this. One of our towers is at 180. The other's at 188. Like, I'm hanging on a thread here. And I go for an Ewiz on top of the Flying Machine again. I wasn't expecting that Hunter, so I actually went for an RG right away. And he gets a nice Fisherman, but if it was played 1 tile more to the left, I think he would have won. And unfortunately for him, it didn't pull the RG enough, so it takes the tower, and that was a very close game. My heart was racing a ton that game. I didn't at all know how that was going to end. I mean, I honestly thought I was going to lose when I was in that position, like where I felt like I was getting overwhelmed, but I somehow defended and managed to win that, which was so nice. So we already went over a Bridge Spam game. Let's go over Giant Graveyard. I believe that this guy is Jose Luis. I think that's his name. This guy's a beast with Giant Graveyard. He's actually finished #1 with Giant Graveyard before, and there was one season, I believe, where he pushed 4 different accounts and he finished them all in the top 20. I don't think he's all on the same now because he probably pushes different accounts every season. But if you see someone high up with Giant Graveyard, most likely it's Jose Luis, majority of the time. So he goes for a very interesting giant here. I already kind of knew what he was using. After he cycled arrows and went for a musketeer and a giant, I'm like, okay, it's one of two things. But most likely it's Giant Graveyard. I was like, it's Giant Graveyard or Sparky. There's nothing else it could be. I mean, those are the only two things that have those cards. So regardless, I'm going to go for an RG at the bridge because I know a Sparky's so easy for me to defend with an Ewiz. So even if he were to go for that, I would have been fine. Like if he went Sparky on defense, I could have just huntered the Giant and gone for an Ewiz on top of the Sparky. But I had a feeling it was Giant Graveyard, so I followed this up with a Hunter as well. And this was just, like, kind of impossible for him to stop, which is why I thought the Giant in the back was a really, really bad play. I bar barreled the Skarmy too. Look at all this damage we're getting, just an amazing lead early on, and, I mean, he's just in a horrible spot. It was kind of his fault for cycling the, you know, the Giant in the back, obviously, because he was just asking for us to punish him, but I definitely took advantage of that. And look at this, I go for a really nice kite with the RG. I love doing this whenever I have like an RG or Giant, going for a kite, so then that way it's much easier to defend. And I just counter that whole Giant Graveyard push with a bar barrel just to make sure he doesn't 3-crown us, and then I just devote all my attention onto offense because I know at this point, I mean, I did just miss a Fireball and a Musketeer, but it wasn't too big of a mistake since I had a Ghost down anyway. And I pretty much 3-crowned him here. Things got a little close. I was kind of worried, to be honest, that he was going to 3-crown me because, I don't know, the Graveyard damage really adds up sometimes, especially when they have a tank down for it. But luckily, I stayed alive, and we were able to 3-crown him. So I think we have time for one more game. I think I might go over... I'm thinking about this. Should I go over the Remy Ellie one or the Mugi one? I think I'll go over the one versus Mugi. He's 8th in the world right now. I think I'll go over this one because I feel like Remy Ellie's deck is pretty off meta, so it wouldn't be as useful to show you guys. I think, and Mugi is just, I mean, you guys all know him. A lot of people consider him some to be the best in the world. I mean, he's this weekend playing in the World Finals for Ponos. He was their star player in CRL East for Ponos. So in this matchup, I was kind of unsure what he was using, but as soon as he cycled that Earthquake, I knew it had to be one of two things, Hog EQ or Minor Wall Breakers. And in single, I'm going to play this pretty passively because he's got an extremely fast cycle, and I feel like in double and triple Elixir, which you guys are eventually going to see, it's so difficult for him to defend our RG pushes when his spell, you know, as Earthquake isn't getting very much value for him, and he's forced to cycle things into our RG, and we also have Fireball for his Hunter as well, and we got a good amount of answers to his Wall Breakers. I think it's slightly in my favor. I don't think we hard counter him or anything. I think he didn't play this perfectly, but I believe that if I play it well, I probably should win majority of the time. I cycle, I believe, in RG in the back right here, and the one mistake he might have made coming up is he ended up cycling Wall Breakers in the opposite lane when he already had a lot of damage in the left lane, and that could have been what cost him the game. I think he was expecting me to defend them, but I ignored them because I knew that it was irrelevant to defend them. Not those Wall Breakers. The next set, you guys will see he's about to do it again next time. And I ignore that pair because I know that if I spend that 2 elixir on defense, it probably would, you know, mean I wouldn't have been able to support the RG as well. And also, it's okay to have, you know, split damage like on both lanes. I see sometimes people like overreact and try to defend both lanes, but in all honesty, it's not necessary because with a fast cycle deck like Hog or Minor Wall Breakers, just give them the damage and save the elixir, so then that way you have a higher chance of breaking through on offense. So this is where I believe I RG in the back, and then he sends in Wall Breakers in the opposite lane. It was right here, I think. And yes, Wall Breakers in the opposite lane. Notice my hand. I could have gone Bar Barrel. You know, I could have. But I was like, you know what? What would be the point? Because, I mean, he already has over, you know, 1,000 damage in the left lane. So what would have been the point? I can just save my elixir, overwhelm him, send in another RG. Once again, RG in the back, so OP in certain matchups. And the Hunter gets taken out. He goes for Desperation Wall Breakers, and that GG was a really nice win versus Mugi. And also, I just want to say something real quick, because a lot of people asked, how do you beat P.E.K.K.A with this deck? Honestly, P.E.K.K.A shouldn't be too bad of a matchup. I normally beat P.E.K.K.A with this deck. I don't really verse it because it's kind of bad in the meta, P.E.K.K.A. P.E.K.K.A's pretty weak. Been pretty weak in the meta the last few months, but you play it the same way as... So when I showed you guys this replay, think of it as you would play it in this matchup. The only difference is the P.E.K.K.A player has, you know, Poison, which I feel like doesn't even get too much value against you because you have the Heal Spirit healing things up. But the bottom line is when you're playing versus P.E.K.K.A, play passively. Do not go for RGs and single elixir. Play versus P.E.K.K.A very passively in double and triple elixir. That's when you can be aggressive and you should be fine. You can Fisherman away the P.E.K.K.As. Hunter and Ewiz are your friend. They're going to be very good on defense for you. And that's how you play versus P.E.K.K.A. Just because people were asking, you know, you can always practice the matchup in friendly battles. Best way to learn, you know, matchups, or continue watching people play those matchups over and over. That's how you get better at it, but not too bad of a matchup. The worst matchups for this deck is Bard Putt, but luckily not many people are using Bard Putt in this meta. That's going to be it for the video. Make sure to like it if you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And thanks again. Until next time, guys.